Cleveland Cavaliers, 48.5. Last year, they won 48. This is basically the same team as last year, too. They won 48. Were expected to win 47. They were 7th in defense, 18th in offense. They made the Eastern Conference semifinals, winning a playoff series against the Orlando Magic. Had a relatively weak strength of schedule in large part due to getting to play, Detroit a bunch and getting to play a couple of these other Eastern Conference teams. The thing that this is an over for me, and this is an over like. I think I will say that this is an over, like full stop for me. That is worth potentially giving out.
Sure.
Last year, they won 48 games with Donovan Mitchell playing 55, Darius Garland playing 57, and Evan Mobley playing 50.
Yeah. And
they still won 48 games.
Garland was clearly not Garland for most of those games. Correct.
So to me, this is an over. Like this is just kind of.
We did this last year. By the way, we did this last year too when it was like 50. We gave out the Cavs over, and they came close despite all of that. Like this was down to the last, few weeks of the season.
They missed like 100 games from 3 of their 4 best players. Didn't have a healthy Darius Garland for the from December onward, and still got 48. Like that to me feels like a pretty decent. Like that's pretty good by us.
I'm with you. And I'm fascinated to see what Kenny Atkinson does with this, because I think Kenny Atkinson's a very good coach. And I
agree. I
think more so than like Kenny Atkinson's a significantly better coach than JB Bickerstaff, which maybe he is. Like I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm not good enough at evaluating coaches, I think, to say that outright. But what I will say is I think having a fresh perspective on what to do with this group is going to be very important.
I think that having a fresh perspective on, like what to do with Evan Mobley on offense is important to me, right? Like figuring out how to make him work, figuring out how to make the Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley combination in the front court, like consistently be effective. Part of that comes down to Evan Mobley and like him showing progress as a skill player, right?
Sure.
But a big piece of that is also that Evan Mobley, often feels like and he's in a strange spot on offense here. And that makes it a little bit tricky. I think that having Kenny Atkinson, who knows, I think is better at like creating offensive movement than anything I saw from the Cavs, having watched Atkinson's Brooklyn teams, right? I think that this should be a more effective situation for Evan Mobley to thrive in offensively. I think that defensively, this team should still be a top 5-ish team in the league. They were 7th last year, having missed a bunch of games from Evan Mobley. If Mobley and Allen play 140 games or whatever, they're going to be a top 5 defense. But again, like to the point about injuries, right? They have proven to me now that even if the worst befalls them, they're still right at this number, right?
That floor is high. That floor is like 45.
Yes.
Right. And so if that's the case, they certainly have a ceiling in the 50s. The other thing that I think is maybe a little underrated in terms of how Atkinson can make this Mobley-Allen pairing work is having the relationship he has with Jarrett Allen is going to allow him maybe more leeway to push Allen to the periphery a bit more and give Mobley more opportunity, because Allen will trust that he's not just going to get wedged out completely because he knows how much Kenny Atkinson values him as a player. And I think
that gives him Jarrett too.
And I think that gives them, that makes it easier to say, hey man, we're going to maybe give Evan some more reps in pick and roll to try and maximize his skill set. And we're going to drop you in the dunker spot. We're going to move you around and do some different things with you. We're going to have you in the corner a little more. We're going to do these things because
they did
ego management's so big
too. Yeah. They did a little bit more of that last year with Evan, which was good. Jarrett's like egoless from what I understand.
Sure. But I mean, everybody has a little something. Everybody has a little something. And I think with this team in particular, Kenny coming from Golden State, where ego management is the name of the game, that's all they really are trying to do on that coaching staff. And what he's learned, I think, there after being in Brooklyn and what happened to him in Brooklyn. Yeah. I think he has probably as good a handle on how to handle a group of stars as any head coach who hasn't necessarily gotten that full opportunity. I think he's got a really good handle on it from the situations he's been in. And that's a really underrated part of getting the most out of a team like this.
Yeah, to me, this is a clear over. I feel good about this over. 48.5. I think this team probably ends up, look, I think there are going to be more 50-win teams in the East this year than what we've seen in a while.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that they get to 50, and I think they end up as like the, 4 or 5 seed with 50 wins, 3, 4, 5, something like that.